Hey team, how are we going? Welcome to the Red Corn Chip. This is where you live now, if we're not careful. But not today. It's Kaz from In the Trenches with Kaz, and I am here to have an interesting conversation that I believe needs to be said. It seems to be the subject that comes up every time I speak to people on the bat phone. What are my thoughts on speaking to other military-minded individuals? So if Major General Jim Moland, is concerned with what is happening, and even said on the last 24-hour cycle on Channel 7 or 9, I can't remember what it was, that we've got something to worry about. And we need to start to get ready, and maybe it's even too late. This feels like a very Noah's Ark moment. The rains are coming. Are they? No, we'll be fine. But what if it's not? Should we be prioritising what is happening right in front of our faces? The gibber that's going between the two teams at the bar before the first punches are thrown, before Eye of the Tiger is put on the jukebox. Tonight we'll be speaking about several things we can do to remedy what might be coming our way when we choose sides, because I sure as hell don't want to be learning Mandarin when I can stay on the side that's speaking English. And I guarantee that when you are part of a capitalism world, it will treat you a lot better than that of a socialism or communist world. And that is something that is right on our doorstep. We are strategic. We are in a position of vulnerability. And we'd better be careful, because if we don't put priorities and defending the tribe before feelings, then we're going to get left in the dark. What's happened here? For the poor people in Nam, Bain, too much, but thank you. Nutsu cow, Chinese red corn chip, suits the stream. How do we deserve this in your Bain? It's way too much, mate. Can we get some thumbs up, some hands up, some fists in the air, for no choice of our future? As we thank Mr. Bain for supporting the channel. It's going to support others, and we've got so much exciting stuff coming our way. We have. Leo, I see you there. Get those thumbs up for Mr. Bain. Thank you very much, mate. That is 103,000 views equivalent right there. Thank you very much, mate. And I hope in these hard times it hasn't left you short, mate. Your card is on the way. We've already sent it. I can't wait to hear what your scores are for all of those that are in on the fitness competition. We're on to our third page now. We're sending away cards every single day, and it's great. And we're getting cards back. Thank you to the winner, Lightfoot, who's got a pair of joggers coming his way. We've just spoken to each other in the last 24 hours, and he's pretty stoked to be the winner. We've got Dutters. Kaz, you're late. You owe us a 10 slacker. Mate, I'll give you 10 push-ups any day of the week. 52 years old, that's nothing for me. 51, actually. Daz, the owner of the Water Buffalo. You're going to fit quite well with the red corn chip overlords very soon. Team, I've got some answers coming our way. I did have some videos that were going to be here from Channel 7, Channel 9 that were talking about the dramas we're having with the submarines, understanding that submarines are part of the past and our long-reach partners and alliances, and hopefully those that will come to the scream in the night if it comes from our vocal cords, that their aviation mixed with their naval power will be more than what we need to send JJ in his cabin boy version of a submarine his way. Right. Lauren is going to join me in a moment, because I think what we're about to talk about here is going to chuff some people up the wrong way, because it means you cannot be a bystander anymore. It means you have to put some action in, stipulation being that only if it happens on these shores or within our realm, radius of responsibility. Papa Palps, do you reckon our military is prepared for any confrontation? No, we're not. No, we're not. And we've let it degrade. We've let politics creep in. Jackie boys, Kaz, mate, haven't been in the stream for so long. It's good to have you back. Jack boys, Jack is it's a slant, but that's a good thing, because if you're Jack boys, that means you've been Jack. You haven't been here, but you're back, and we need you. We need you big. Jackie boys, Kaz, mate, yes. Leo always here, eats G'day everyone, hope you're all doing good. I think everyone's doing fine. Chunky. Kaz, how you going, mate? I'm going well. I've been absolutely run off my feet, so to speak, but in a good way, and everything has panned out well as well. Even the warning lights that were on the dashboard of my new VW camper van, which I haven't shown enough videos on, is the lights just went poof out of here. Sorry to the LGBT community that don't like the word, but it's been around longer than you. Carlos Schultz. G'day people. G'day Carlo. Do you know Carlos Hathcock, the Vietnam Marine sniper with the most amount of kills? Joshy Fawns, much respect. Good to have you here. It says it's great for an ad here, so we'll whack that there. We're going to be talking about a couple of things, but what I want to do first is whack Miss Lauren on. So we're going to give her a call now because it's good to have the opposition of the genders on here that's got something to lose as well if we go by the decisions I'm talking about.
Hello.
Hello, Miss Lauren. How you going?
Hello, I'm going good.
Do you like my backdrop?
I love it.
Okay.
Well, and I do.
You know what, but
scary.
It is scary, but that's where we could be going, unless we still call Australia home. But if we still call Australia home, does that mean we have to pay the overprice for the LGBT airline being called Qantas? Let's go back. Yep. There's some people that better hope that we don't go get a red overlord, the LGBT community, then they're going to have really something to bitch about.
Look, frankly, I think everyone should be careful or at least start to take notice.
Yeah. Well, do you know who is noticing? Chris Isaac. Somebody's crying.
It is Chris Isaac.
He's got his card. He's about to join the military too. And by the way, I'd like to make a quick call out, please, Lauren. The other day when we said Andy and Benny have just made it into OSB, what I didn't realise was the very next morning, a third person, William, he got through his OSB the next morning. So we've got 3 that we know of that are all going to the same cohort at RMC.
Oh, that's amazing, isn't it?
It is.
I love it because I love hearing people's stories, and it's so great when they come back and tell us how they're going and pop their head in. And what a coincidence.
Yep, I'm in a lucky position. So are you by being with us, that we get to see all the good news that comes from people all the time. And honestly, it balances the bad in life of getting older and getting a liver spot. But I won't show you that because it's right where you're supposed to wipe. That looks like I'm not doing a good job.
Oh, no.
William John loves BLTs. Yeah, I don't mind them either.
Yeah,
the
me
boss.
Too.
How good is the Australian flag? It is a great flag. I never want the flag to change because you need to know where you came from. And you know what? Every time we change something, it always ends up being something goddamn stupid. The flags were voted on by Australians. Let them have it.
Yeah,
Sage.
Exactly.
Rather the Aussie flag in the backdrop, yes. But what I want is a looming presence of the red corn chip.
Yep.
For you to remember why I'm talking the way I am tonight, to allow you into this adult conversation with Lauren.
Yes, I'm here.
Who has children.
I do. I have many reasons to be interested in this. Yep. You know, this is not just a special interest group for, China. Everyone, it's in our region. It's growing in our region. It's making some very strategic choices. And I think they could be seen as very aggressive. So I think we need to just look at it realistically and don't panic and don't be afraid. We are Australians and we'll face whatever comes our way, but it's better, knowledge is power. The more you know and talk about something, the better armed you are against it.
Better armed. What if you're an amputee?
Come on now.
Okay, and well done to all the people in the Commonwealth Games, by the way. Fantastic.
Yeah, indeed.
Lauren, we asked for a survey done before we came on tonight. And basically the question was from in the trenches with Kaz, never heard of him. I heard he's a celebrity from down south, Z class. Should Australia have national service and also bring the legislation of military-grade firearms for those who are qualified to use them safely and effectively to harden Australia from future threats domestically? And the reason why this comes about is because of a famous quote, which they say may not be necessarily legit, but it meets the thing. And that is from the quote from Japan's Admiral Isoroku Yamamoto as saying, "You cannot invade mainland United States because there would be a rifle behind every blade of grass." So it was the fact that they could fight off the British Empire, learnt from their mistakes, and then the Japanese would never be able to get the foothold because they would always be suffering the death of 1,000 cuts.
Yeah.
So we asked about weapons coming back, and the people said, and I understand we've got a biased crowd here because most people want to be either servants of the nation, regardless of who the leader is or what we think of our current leader.
Yep, that's right.
That's fine, and I don't go into that because I serve them all because my boss is the Queen. But yes to national service and yes to guns for qualified individuals, 70%. No to national service and no to qualified individuals, 9%. I agree Australia may be in trouble, but I'm on the fence, as the New Zealanders said.
Okay.
14%.
That's fair because, we need to know what sort of model we're talking about and all that. It's always good to get all the facts before you make a decision.
It is. And tonight is about starting a conversation that you should be having in your own circles. Get it out there.
Exactly.
Because you're the people who are going to suffer. It won't be your Barack Obama's who believes in climate change yet gets a gated community house with armed guards on the outside on the sand beside the ocean, knowing that everything he's raised money for is absolutely fake news. Kaz also is the last one. Stick to singing Rick Astley ballads, 7%.
Yeah, you're being rickrolled in the chat right now by our friend Robin.
There he is. He calls himself the boss now. He's currently on the run.
Yeah, it looks amazing where he is right now.
It does. Dead dove. Oh, that's a little bit.
That's dark.
It is dark. the dead peace bird.
Okay, yeah, he might be on his way out soon.
Okay, righto. So basically, team, what we're talking about is I've got two solutions, Lauren. And I'll open this up to communication with you after we speak to Rob Kent for a second. Daz, I agree, just can't see the light at the moment. They've given me a fairly ambitious timeline to walk again. I don't know if I'll get there and I won't look back. Mate, I really hope you do, buddy.
Yeah, I do too. Sending good vibes.
Southern Land Bushcraft. That was like a cronk shell. I went, go what? By putting a rifle on my stream and all of a sudden Southern Land Bushcraft, who's got a fantastic Instagram account. Bring back the guns for law-abiding citizens. The government back in 1996 punished all licensed firearms for the actions of one nutbag. Yes, they did, and that was beside where Lauren is right now. I'll say something else about the weapons. I don't understand why we have a police force that enforces, a government that doesn't understand that they have taken the weapons of people that are 10 times more qualified to carry a weapon than a police officer.
Yeah, that's true.
Whether it be practical ability to use the weapon and a diverse set of weapons, as well as safely, but also that adds as an education to others. Now, by having those weapons by default in your society, we all know that as much as I love the police officer, he normally turns up late with a camera to take pictures of the yellow tape.
Yep.
There has to be that good Samaritan ability for a father to also be able to say, well, I can't hear the 5-0 on the way. Someone's going to have to do something. And guess what? I used to get paid to do just that. And this kid with a knife ain't going to push, a tombstone on that family over there. I'm all in.
Yep.
Kids, stay upstairs.
That's a really important point because, being someone who's been in a crisis and had to ring the police at times, there is a gap between when your ambulance gets there, when your police get there. There is a gap.
Yep.
And it's not their fault. They have a lot of work to do. Don't ring 000 if it's not an emergency because it already takes a long time. And there is that gap where we've just seen that shooting on that rural property in Queensland. There is a gap between when we can do it, and maybe if people were more armed. I understand that argument for it.
Yep. Simon's asking what makes a qualified person. Well, I'd say anyone that has served time in the Air Force, maybe Air Force if they're up to date, because I know they only touch their weapon, basic training, probably not never again.
Like if
Navy,
there's a refresher
not as often as they should.
Yeah.
But if you've got the qualification to use it and you've used it and you've been in and done your time in that service, 4 years, Army, Air Force, Navy, or you've done national service, which we're about to talk about now, Simon, then I think that makes more than qualified. You know, I am a machine gun coach. I am a small arms assault weapon coach. I was a member of the 2R shooting team. You know, I was one of the champion shots of the brigade. You know, I was a 24 years serving infantry member. You know, I understand if they said, Kaz, you can't have a weapon because you have a post-traumatic stress disorder from an incident that happened in 1995, but there's only one chance that weapon's going to be used on someone, and that'd be on me. And if that's up to me, then I'll make me peace with God. And I won't do that anyway. I'd tell you if I was going to. So what this comes in line with as well, and it'd be very interesting to see what your thoughts are on this one, team, because I was going to make a video today of bloody recorded everything down by the river today. Nearly got molested, to tell you the truth, by a guy that looked like he was dwelling in the toilets a little bit too long.
Oh my gosh!
And I said, "Not on my shift, mate." You know, and I swiped left, and then pretended
he couldn't hear you because your mouth was full.
Well, I took an hour to limp back to my car too. That was my way of saying no. And anyway. He tried to offer me a can of Coke to say yes, and I said, mate, no way.
No, you obviously...
I just drank from a Coke can.
Yeah, obviously it'd be more than a can of Coke.
Yeah.
You need a can of Pepsi as well. There's some really good comments.
Yep, throw one at me.
Because we've got Chunky and Pajama Llama both, have are wary about like rearming. I don't know if it's even rearming or arming Australia, which I understand. I'd rather people go into this from a reserved point of view, because then we can make sure it makes everyone happy except for the extremes. And Chunky said, I think the guns should stay banned. And Pajama Llama has said, having firearms feels like mutually assured destruction. And it can make an increase in certain S-word rates and things like that.
Well, let me add some caveats to that.
Yeah,
okay.
Please.
All right. The caveats to that is it's qualified people. It is people that have already done their service with the weapon, that have already got a history that they've never done something wrong to get the ire of the law or those around them. These are people that are responsible. They see it because they've ad nauseum done skills on these weapons and see them as a tool, not as a plaything. So what it would be, the people that can carry this, there would be courses that you could do that go for a certain amount of time, and they would be run by ex-military, ex-police, ex-Air Force, ex-Navy individuals, which creates jobs for people getting out of the military as well. Yeah. But also, this runs into what I'm saying, that if you've got that weapon, you've got that qualification to it. But I also believe it is time, as of next year, instead of having referendums about an Aboriginal voice in Parliament, which they've always had, okay, I believe, well, in our lifetime they have, there are special things out there for the Aboriginal people, which I agree with wholeheartedly.
Yeah,
but what I think we need is a referendum on national service. Now, what my stipulation on that is, that would be for indentured service within Australia from the ages between 18 and 20, where you can go between 18 and 19 or 19 and 20. You choose the year and it goes towards, we've spoken about it before, either Army, Air Force, Navy, in some reserve sort of thing, where you'll come out fully qualified reserve. Okay, or it could also go towards medical or police force or fire brigade. So all of these things create upskilled, upgunned SES worker equivalents that also have weapon proficiencies that are then able to have a weapon, so that we ultimately end up being, a small country, a large country with a small population that has a weapon behind every blade of grass. Now, for anyone that says they don't like it, how come you don't have a problem with what everyone's done for Ukraine? And look what that did by having people national service qualified. They were able to cut off the Russians at the pass, become the bug in their side, and actually stop the Russians from achieving what they wanted. Yeah. You need to create a deterrent, not necessarily a blocking force. And these people would do this. It would make them better citizens. It would keep them off the streets. It would be their scholarship to a better life.
Exactly, and it would develop like a pride, as comes along with any new thing or any new sort of, especially in the military. It would come along with a pride that a lot of people maybe have never had in their families for generations.
That's true.
And it will make them like better people. I think also when we're talking about arming the population, like there's a few questions about that, but Chunky says he now agrees, Kaz, because you explained that really well. I'd like to say, as someone who's coming from a layman's place, like, you know how much I know about weapons and anything like that, you have to explain it like I'm a 6-year-old, and you're managing well.
And this is why we have this conversation. Like, we've got Shooter down under there. You know, some of the most disciplined people I've come across, but also some of the worst are hunters. You know, when I see some of them with the way they handle the weapons, but at the same time I see a lot of hunters self-policing where they are a lot more aggressive than what the army is if you are carrying a weapon incorrectly or dangerously or targeting something you're not meant to target. Yeah. So absolutely they're Shooter down under. And when you're an expert in a field, and I am in firearms and weapons and training, also the planner of ranges from a senior range instructor's perspective, you know, I know what I'm talking about here, and those that know about weapons understand that they become a tool, they become a way of life, but they also become the advantage that you can have when you assume that every single person that is downstairs is there, not by invite, can outfight you, okay, is there by surprise and is there to win. You need something that takes you above the level of those individuals, a deterrent. And that is why the Mossberg shotgun was called the Intimidator, because it had such a loud cocking action. It was like a starter's gun for those that were breaking into houses.
Yeah, that was the one we were talking about
the feet taken off.
Yeah, indeed. Yeah, exactly. And I mean, here's also a thing. I think if people are worried that we might become like America, that we might be like arming gangs and that, what would you say? What would you say that we're not America, we're Australia?
Gangs, you know, and you can take this the way you want. Gangs come from different cultures. Cultures create gangs. There is different cultures that have tribal, what would you call it, character traits.
Yeah.
You know, where they fall back on tribalism, and that is where the violence comes, the low threshold for violence in an argument, etc. You'll see that peel out.
Exactly. We know the recipe for it. We know that it's childhood neglect and trauma plus low socioeconomic, you know, areas and things like that. So perhaps we could have a really good shot at making something new here.
Well, imagine turning it around. Imagine national service comes on, and after you've done your year's service, and let's take into account the threat is at the door right now. Even if we start this, and who's going to train them? They're not going to get trained by the regular army. The regular army are preparing for the threat off the actual continent. These people, the stipulation would be the only time we're allowed to fight now would be within the confines of this country. So if someone has a problem with national service when it is defending their own country and they don't want to do that, then goodbye to your vote. No worries. You don't have to do it. But guess what? You're going to have no dole. You're not going to get to vote. You don't deserve to be able to put your hand in and take from those that would protect the country and bring something to the table, which is protection for the future, for the generation, for help and for hope. Because the next generation, this is a war between cultures. It's between capitalism and shadow communism and socialism. People have chosen their sides, and I believe absolutely there is people in Australia, there is people in higher places that make the decisions that would open the door and allow the red corn chip to come in tomorrow, as long as they are not affected. And I believe there is a lot of people in the system.
And that's a really good point. We can't separate the two as the threat level of the nation and what our next steps are. We can't separate those two, because at the moment, I think everybody knows we're on a bit of a higher footing as far as security goes. And Shooter Down Under said, not to mention that most of what they refer to America comes from the mainstream media. Now, that's actually a really good point. They are in the business of fear-mongering. If they can get you to be scared of something, they can sell you something. So they are incredibly biased, and he said mostly don't know about firearms at all. And I think we've talked about this a lot, Kaz, education. Education, if people are educated about things, there's less likely to be incidents and problems, and people will be able to police themselves and each other, So I think it's the threat level. Maybe we need to increase education around firearms.
We do, because they're not scary when you know what to do. And when I can be in a battalion of 1,000 men and I'm on operations for 6 months and there's not a negligent discharge or an unauthorised discharge that happens on that entire 6 months, that shows you how safe these guys are with their weapon systems and how deliberate it can be. Sanage with the locks that flow.
Yes, indeed.
I agree they should be qualified, but it should be very restricted. Yep, qualified.
Yep.
And those people would need to have the responsibility of civil protection in times when police are unable to attend quickly enough.
Yes, that's a great idea. I would be down with that.
Yep.
I would be down with that.
Yep. Yep. It is very important that they are vouched for by qualification and trade tested potentially, but there has to be that watchdog effect that people understand. Okay, that you're not going to get away with this sweet. That there is people and you don't know where they are. There might be no one in your suburb, or there might be a whole bunch. But national service. That's right. Where are we? National service. This is where I was going to bring it up, because everyone in Australia seems to have an opinion on it, and it seems like it's only the people that want free protection that seem to have a problem with it. Now, let's talk to someone who actually was in national service. And this is a lad, we've played this one 4 years before. I'll read this one out to you. Train fine. What national service in my country does, it brings people together to work with the same goal. By that I mean, who I believe is in Singapore. People who could be totally different characters, someone from a wealthy family, someone from a poor family, a lefty or a righty, a smart guy, a less smart guy, someone from the north, someone from the south. Personally, I have, where are we? Never wanted to serve in the military, even though my father was an officer. However, after having fulfilled my national service, so after he's completed it, I feel that I miss the military life. So next year I'll go back to the military where I'll serve again. I guess that the national service model, I would not have done the same. There are, of course, people who, what are we? Sorry, team.
I would read it, but I'm
who still think after your service time that the military is nothing for them. But from my point of view, you can't judge if you have not experienced it first.
Yeah, exactly.
And you know what? One of the saddest things that ever happened with the Nashos after Vietnam is they were automatically basically discharged when they came home, saying that they'd done their service. But I think all of them said it was the best time of their life. And when you meet them on Anzac Day, they cannot stop talking about it. They absolutely love it and miss it.
Exactly. Look, if I can give you an example, I've seen many young men come into the army, to be honest with you, kind of looking a bit like a hot mess. And they seem to become refined by the process, and the impurities get burnt off and they come out a more refined man. Yep.
Do you know I still haven't met anyone that regrets their military career?
Nor have I.
That is a phenomenon, team.
Yeah. That's got to be. That's, if that doesn't say something, then I don't know what does.
Yeah. G'day, Adam Cameron. Bob Catter for PM. I love Bob Catter. I remember he went into the outback and was speaking to the farmers, and they were in a grandstand where you have the footy, and one of them went to have a go at him, and he's like, "You don't fucking have a go at me, mate. I'm the one that's here. I turned up. You shut your mouth." And they were like, "Oh, I was just saying." They didn't realise he'd turned up with fire. I quite liked him. You treat people the way they treat you, don't you? Bain says, exactly. Bain, if we had national service, Triple J wouldn't exist. Neither would the ABC. That's a statement. Bob is awesome. You know, I like someone that gets the job done. I like someone that hands back policies that work. If they can do that, I don't care what party they're for, I'd vote for them.
I'm the same. I like to look at people. I like practical people who actually are going to make something change.
Yep.
They're not just there for the luncheon and the pension.
And there's plenty of them.
Yeah, there is. Well, I was wondering, I have a question for you. And it might be too blunt for you to answer, but Rose and I we were talking about the subject of your stream this afternoon. And we were both very, very interested in this one because from a civilian perspective, and a lot of civilians, I think, maybe even most, don't trust what we're being told by the mainstream media. We just want the truth, even if it's hard to swallow. So how big is the threat from the red corn chip?
I think it's almost 100%.
Like it's not if, it's when.
It's when, but it's not going to be, like Jim Mullen said, when people haven't had a military career, they will go back to the last movie they thought and think that's what it's going to be like. And I'm not trying to be patronising to people, but it's not going to be necessarily planes flying over, dropping paratroopers while ships are doing the Saving Private Ryan with machine gun nest, engaging them. Yep. What I believe is going to happen is there's already operatives in this country right now who are doing sabotage, who are just lying in wait for the signal that if something happens to attack our grids, to create disturbances and basically become a pest on the ground, and it will absolutely overwhelm our military. It will overwhelm our police force, our intelligence agencies.
That's what we were wondering. What would it look like? Would it look like chaos?
Non-conventional. It'd be something that cannot be targeted.
Internet grids, the electricity grids, water supplies, things like that.
Yep. So instead of thinking about something conventional that's on the ground, which is look at this hand over here, it'd be something non-conventional because they don't go by the laws of armed conflict where an Australian soldier, British soldier, Kiwi soldier has to wear his uniform as a recognised member, otherwise considered a spy. But what they do is they would break all the rules. So instead of having a force that is a conventional forces coming to land on the ground, they would be below the detection threshold, and they would attack Australia in 1,000 places in one time. So all of the signals, the 911, the 000 calls, the call outs, the quick reaction forces, we're not even going to be able to get to the armory in time. Yet if we had people with national service in every single town, where we had people that had firearms in their house, then that gives the qualified people the chance to say, take that dude down now in the absence of the police being here at all.
And perhaps we could extend that beyond just that. Perhaps those who aren't suitable for firearms or don't think they'd be capable of it, perhaps there could be an alternative where they get paramedic training and things like that, because there's if we're in a poop hitting the fan situation,
you can say shit.
Communities, I'm a lady, I try not to. The communities will have to look after themselves for a small amount of time at least, if we're talking about chaos, because that's the worst thing that could sort of happen to our society.
Yeah, I agree.
Be a good citizen. Don't loot. Don't be silly.
And I'd like to think that most Australians wouldn't loot.
I would like to think that too, but
and I hate to tell you,
percentage.
And that is a cultural thing.
Yeah.
You can call it what you want, but that is what it is. They'll use the elections, they'll use Black Lives Matter, they will use riots, they'll use all of this as an example to get Nikes. They do not give a shit about the person who's dying on the cement beside them. How do I know? Because I've watched it happen. Richie Wallace, rich kids like Bill Clinton could get a college deferment to avoid going to Vietnam. Yeah, but that's all right,
That's just the way of the world. It's always been like that, and it'll probably always be like that.
The reason why I say there's a problem is because the red corn chip has already said they will be the only superpower, and they're aiming towards that. That they see our very culture as the enemy of theirs. They say it, we don't, which makes us cuckolded by them.
Yep.
The fact that we are buying back oil and resources that we have aplenty. Our trade routes are insanely valuable. Our alliances hold us together. We are a fantastic country. I believe there is absolutely an overwhelming amount of brave men and women within Australia that if people underestimated, because of the lefty voice, how loud it gets, that there isn't a majority that is so much louder if you woke it up, but it shakes its head at the village idiots. And that's not, they're there, and they will step up, but it's too late if the game has already started to say, well, let's do something now because we said the rains were coming and we don't have enough carpenters to build the ark. And which animals go in? I'm offended if that one goes in before this one. We need a male and female of each, but we can't even tell you or assume the gender of a cow.
Yeah, exactly. Carlo's made a really good point, which brings up a question I had, okay? Carlo has said, I'm not saying that nothing is going to happen, but my uncle has lived over in China for a while, and his opinion is that they are pretty gutless. He believes they want to be respected and won't start a war. But Rose and I, when we were talking about this, we feel like we may have overestimated Russia, and we're a little worried. What if we've underestimated China? Is that possible?
I don't think so. I think he's fairly right there because there's the massive difference between the CCP and Chinese. There's a massive difference. Chinese people don't like the CCP either. The Chinese people would love nothing better than to be capitalist, where there's a chance of owning a Lamborghini, where there's a chance of having a family or having a house that looks different to your neighbour, or a can of and variety of things in education and religion and all the rest of the things that come with the Western world and music and all that. But at the same time, they've got their own troubles, and at the moment they're most dangerous because they can feel they're getting pushed into a corner, and at the same time they're bringing allies in that are also undesirables, and there's enough people that would cut off their own nose to spite their face just to say we won't take the sides of America, and they would use our legal system against us to allow traders to assist those coming in and then cry victim when it doesn't go their way when they're targeted.
I see.
So it won't be a conventional, disruption to your country.
Yeah. Hi, Eatswar. It's nice to see you here.
He's been for a while.
Yeah. An OG. He's made a point. He said, I wouldn't be surprised if they're using TikTok and probably other, apps. They
own TikTok, don't they?
They own a lot of the apps we use every day. And in fact, I think even Apple machines and that phones and that have things built in them. But they wasn't there a bit of a scandal with some security cameras and things a couple of years ago?
Yeah, they wanted it gone because they were using when you're on the app, apparently they were using your camera to look around where you were.
Yeah, exactly.
And do that locating people, etc.
Yeah,
hey, Rusty Gypsy.
Hey, that's nice.
Rusty Gypsy, whereabouts is he at the moment? I'll be calling Mr. Buccarini tomorrow. I've been pretty flat out with the fitness group, getting all the guys sorted there.
Excellent.
I'll be catching up with him when he comes down near our way. They're going all right, mate. Almost no one has sent their scores in. We've had a couple. But this weekend, I'm going to attack it too.
Yeah, come on, guys. Let's get your scores in. Is that to the Patreon?
Sorry?
So if people wanted to join in, would that be on the Patreon?
Yeah, it is the Patreon. It's this one here, team. Bam. That is the only one that I know that exists, a physical fitness card that you can carry around with you, that you can, when someone says to you, are you prepared to join the military? Bam, that's me scores. Throwing star that. Hit the Navy coach in the corner of the eye with it as he's looking over your abilities. And I don't know. I just really.
I think it's great. I think it's a great resource, and I love it that people are actually putting their scores in there. So because it's about commitment too. I think people throw the word commitment around, but when to have a really great career like you had, that took commitment, right?
What's that one?
For you to have such a great career in the ADF that you did, that took commitment. So that took you being accountable. You had to do it when you didn't want to do it. You kept doing it. And that's the same for this. If you've started these exercise things, don't give up. Be encouraged. Keep going.
That's it. Every single day we turned up and basically went and did PT at least once a day. And you know where that pays off? It doesn't pay off when you're in the base, when you're trying to get the girl in the club. Where it pays off is when you've got a 60-kilo pack on your back, you know, and you've been out there for 8 days, you haven't had enough food, it's raining, it's cold, and then it's hot by the day, you're itchy, you're getting stung by mosquitoes, and then you look into the eyes of someone who hasn't worked as hard as you, and you can see them literally dying in front of you, trying to keep up with a pace that they can't because they decided to use their face as a storage device for frickin' pizza, you know, and fizzy drinks without doing the work.
Exactly. It's not comfortable, but it's what you wanted to do. Remember that.
He just wanted to suck less. Give me a number, says Chunky.
And that's what it looks like. That's what it looks like. It looks like less sugar, less carbs and working.
It does. These are conversations, team, that you just never hear. Have you put a thumbs up if you're the kind of guy that goes to the piss up, goes to the barbecue, gets told don't talk about this, don't talk about that. There's going to be people here that don't like that sort of conversation. Big deal. Be a fucking adult. You know, and basically what happens is these same people that are so anti-way you think, all of a sudden it gets to 11 o'clock at night, there's about 7 people that are left, no one's talking about Penrith not going to go any good this year, then all of a sudden someone comes up with a subject and goes, oh, yeah, let's talk about that. Let's talk about geosocial, political networks that are occurring, and all of a sudden they're interested. They just never had the courage to talk about it.
It's true. Because, look, we live in this, I don't blame them, we live in this society where you get cancelled or shut down or video recorded and put on a Karen compilation. You know, I mean, there's so many things that could go wrong. So it does take a little bit of social bravery to sort of start those conversations. I think you get to our age and we care less.
Yeah. Mr. P just dropped in to see what direction the stream is going. Been sitting back for 10 mics to go. Had a turd day today. Oh, I'm sorry, P. Mate. Was it medical, mate, or what? For those that don't know, Mr. P, you know, was here when the first fleet arrived.
Indeed.
You know, and he's older than the Galapagos tortoise that Darwin brought as well. You know,
come on now.
But he's ours. He's our Galapagos tortoise.
He's in his prime.
Oh, man, if you don't want me there, don't. Yeah, that's right. That's right, Eatwa. Don't stop me talking about it. If you don't want me there, don't ask me to come.
Exactly.
Until there's a problem, and then all of a sudden they want you there to help them.
Yep, exactly.
You know? I don't need a man until I've got a flat tire sort of philosophy.
Yeah.
So, Lauren, let's say, all right.
Okay.
National service. They decide, yes, even now is too late to implement it. We need it here now as a physical deterrent for those that are watching what's happening to Russia on the ground in the poorest country in Europe, being the Ukraine. They're seeing that the people that are armed, the people that have the abilities, the training, the commitment, the patriotism to say, not on my watch, I won't run. You know, what happens? What would it be for you before you go, it's A-OK, I'd let my sons go as a mother?
Okay. What it would take is I would be okay with them bringing in an emergency model where they took, and to be honest with you, it depends what, I'd need to see the model. I'd need to see what positions would be available for it, what positions they could do. And also I'd want to see how it was going to work before I could see how that goes, because at the moment I'm not sure if I'm trusting that the ADF is got its duty of care down pat, and I want to believe it does because I love it. You know, I love that organisation. But what bothers me is the duty of care, because if they're going to put a 17-year-old female in an infantry position next to my 17-year-old son, I don't think that is them meeting their duty of care.
No.
And I have legitimate reasons for that concern. So if they were going to do an emergency quick draft of a national service, we're going to take males from this age to this age, you know, we'll treat you like the regular army, we'll look after you like that. we'll train you. I'm okay with that. And I'm then okay with them looking at a longer model, which then included females.
Yep.
You know, but I think to take an emergency one, we just need to cut out the risks.
And I'm quite happy with that. You know, I don't care about, I'll tell you now, team, I don't give two fucks about equality.
No.
And diversity. I don't give a shit about it. I want the A team to look like A team.
Exactly.
And the B team
done.
Okay, so let's leave the ladies off. I'm fair enough to do that. I don't mind ladies first. I do it everywhere I go.
Well, I just think for that would make me safer. That would make me feel safer for a quickly drawn up schedule than to take time to include the ladies. Because I don't want a lady in there in an infantry situation that doesn't want to be there.
I just don't want my team moving at the speed of a slower level. That's what scares me. That I might be too slow, or I might end up with someone who's injured, who ends up dying within the golden hour because the team that's carrying him is unable to carry his body weight. That's what scares me.
Exactly. I'd want those things nutted out before we looked at any kind of co-ed, equality, conscription. But
sorry, look who's here. Carl's here. Carl's here on his actual, he's on his IET course now.
I'm so proud of him, our Carl.
He's proud of himself too.
He's such a handsome man, ladies.
Yeah. Okay, Unknown Fox 994 says, could be a shit show, but I doubt they'll destroy the land because it's the largest computing manufacturer in the world. There's too much to lose economically. Are we talking about
raise the place?
Are we talking about Taiwan?
Yeah, I'm not sure.
Yeah. I'm surprised that our internet is still going at the moment.
Yeah, me too. But we're okay.
We're okay.
Yeah.
It's a really weird thing that you can't explain to people till they've had military service that it's not there to hurt you, it's there to help you. We've got a lost generation now where almost adults, literally can't tell you the difference between a man and a woman because of social pressures or cancellation fears.
Exactly.
It is out of control.
It difficult. I mean, we're kind of fortunate because you and I, we have this circle of friends and we talk about these things quite openly, even disagreeing with each other sometimes, but we do talk about it still and we learn.
But do you know who gets cancelled the most?
Who's that?
The people that get cancelled the most are the people that try to do the right thing and say the right thing that the left wants to hear. They're the ones that get attacked. If you just be yourself, they go, he's one of them. He falls into the characteristics of everything that we hate. So there's no point in cancelling him. He's already cancelled in our mind. Guys, if you be honest, it backs off really quickly and you just get left to your own device and your own communications. Be yourself so people know what they've got in front of them. That's why quiet people can be scary because you don't know what they're thinking. Get them drunk and all of a sudden, and I'm not saying take advantage of them physically, I'm saying take advantage of them vocally because all of a sudden the quietest people when they drink, they talk like a parrot and then you find out for a little while what they're like and they're really awkward.
Yeah,
they're really unusual.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
You should, Chunky, you should make that one. Chunky # cancel Kaz.
Exactly. That would never happen. There's too many of us with the same opinion.
Carl's got to run.
See you, Carl.
Look, change the flag for him. He's getting ready.
PK's here.
PK, AK, the family of Nicole. How you going? Judy first says Carl as he's in Cav, which makes him a traitor to his own core. Swallow Bear, I love hearing you chat about things, Kaz. Easy to feel surrounded by characters that scream for everything, but then will shrug off any accountability.
Exactly.
Yep.
Exactly. We need accountability and self-responsibility. I'm such a big fan of them.
Well, they're the signs of an adult. They're the mark. If you cannot take responsibility, you are still a child.
Exactly. And you know what? If you can't say, wow, I really did mess that up and pinpoint at which bit you messed it up, you're not going to learn anything. You're not going to get better at anything.
Can I give one stipulation there, but
certainly.
My little girl at school has got a friend who is, I would say, hard work. She's hard work.
Okay. Yep.
But because we have conflict resolution conversations with myself and my daughter,
good idea.
I tell her, you don't be afraid to say you're sorry when you're sorry, because it's rare when people say that. But then this little girl is always the same. And I said, but don't let me ever catch you saying sorry when you've done nothing wrong.
Exactly.
Which will make you basically their slave, you know?
Yeah, exactly. That's about setting boundaries, and that's self-respect. And that's exactly right. You have to be your own person, and sometimes you have to say no, and sometimes you have to say yes. But for God's sake, make your own choices and live with the consequences.
PK, for America's sake, I pray for Donald Trump in 2024 for the USA, as well as it will be like all of a sudden, boom, a bit of common sense comes back. At least someone that's telling you what their principles are, telling people what their policies are, and no, he actually brought on 100% of policies that he said he was going to bring, and he was the only one that wasn't a politician that stood up and said, I've seen too much, I have to step in, and that is leadership, whether you like it or not. You're not there to kiss the man, but I guarantee when your 401k is going up and when your family looks safer, when the streets are safer, you know, you won't care who's in charge. I don't care what the fireman looks like if he's capable of saving my family.
Yep.
I third that, Eatswa. Leo, who goes to the dojo, agreed on that. Don't be sorry, part for no reason. Guys and gals, what are your thoughts on this? You know, you've done the poll, so to speak. Bam, there we go. What are your thoughts?
Interesting, Bane. What Bane just said is interesting. He said ex-Green Beret Mike Glover just got labelled I'm not going to say that word on YouTube, by the FBI for trying to teach people to defend themselves and their family in the States. That's silly. Why should be allowed to be empowered? Surely firearms are more dangerous in untrained arms, you know.
But they're saying
hands. What the heck?
Yep. It's the most dangerous states in the USA are the states with the biggest and strictest gun laws. That is the one that's hard to swallow.
Yeah.
Hey, Pajama Llama, I miss my national service. Mate, what better testament could you have than that, mate? Well done, sir.
Yeah, from the same nation that the other person who was speaking about their national service was too. Pajama Llama was saying before. Where was that?
Singapore?
Again? Yeah.
Well, I was hanging around all the time with people doing national service in Israel, you know, and they were amazing. They loved it. You know, you'd walk into McDonald's, and there's girls that look like they should be in school with an M16A2, you know, hanging over their shoulder.
Look,
and you know, if you want to throw down there, you're gonna get sorted real quick.
Look, if we're being honest, we don't have a lot of manufacturing in our nation anymore. The factories have closed. There's not as many jobs for our kids as there used to be either. This is a great thing. The skills they would pick up would be amazing.
Yep, absolutely. You know, what we should be working at, one thing I do believe that should be banned is the way youth are walking around with knives in their pockets that aren't just pocket knives. They're actually knives like kitchen knives and crap like that. You know, one of them just got killed in Brisbane in Fortitude Valley. Yeah, you know, when you're carrying a knife to go to meet other team, to me that is RICO. As part of a gang, you're going down with the intent to murder another individual, not to slice them, not to cut them, not maliciously wound, not to give grievous bodily harm. That is going to take the life of another human being. Because when a kitchen knife hits skin, you know, skin gives way very, very quickly, and without any first aid, that person is done very, very quickly.
Exactly. Sworn Defenders made a good comment here.
Okay.
He said being able to step outside of a situation and look at it from a non-biased view really helps with ownership of mistakes. It does. Audit yourself. Audit your decisions before you make them.
Yep. Well, they say people that play stupid games win stupid prizes.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly right. Hi, Mr. Penson. Hi, David.
Hey, there
Penson.
he is, Vietnam Dave. In reference to national service, our military detention centres are not big enough. Please look at the youth today, just saying. Okay. What I also believe that we should be doing is building a prison system that can hold more than 10,000 people in the centre of Australia where it's uncomfortable, and we should be trying to fill it. You know, saying, righto, this is the case. If you are underage and you perform a malicious crime with a weapon, you should be named and shamed regardless of your age. No get out of jail free card for age. I believe that should go too.
Yeah. Yeah. Should.
PK's getting ready to go off grid.
Yeah, well, that's true. He's ready. He's a prepper.
You're right, Nicole. You're right.
Swoller Bear has asked, could you please explain your Patreon system? He said the groups sound wicked. Could you just explain the tiers and that they all get access to the phone?
They're all exactly the same, basically. And what it is, for the price of a coffee a month, basically, it sounds like I'm trying to be Netflix here. Basically, what happens is I saw a hole in the game where I used to give my phone number out, my previous phone. I had to get rid of it just because of how many calls I was getting on a daily basis. But what I found was Facebook, Instagram, groups, it wasn't cutting it. People need an individual solution, which is a chat. So we purchased this bat phone, which is white, which is racist in my eyes. Okay, and basically what happened is, by having the Patreon, that allows people to get on and have, what would you call it, privacy, by contacting me directly, for the entry cost of a price of coffee a month. From that as well, as the time we spend on the communicating together to tackle your problems without you actually having to consult your family at times if it's embarrassing or something you don't want others to know. You also get this fitness card, boom, which allows you to have a physical card which is your personal best on it. Give me a number. And from there you can carry this around. So while ever you're beating one of these a week, which will get harder and harder as you start to get better and better, you're always improving yourself.
Yeah.
Yep.
It's such a great resource.
And what do we do with the money anyway, Lauren?
Oh, we help people.
We help people?
That's all we do.
And not charities. Normally what we help is people that don't show up on a radar. A normal guy or gal that's filling their fuel and they've got that look on their face of, I can't afford that.
Yeah,
or helping
nowadays.
People with projects.
Exactly. Yeah, people power. It's the best way.
It is. We're about to help Miss Lauren and she doesn't know about it yet.
What?
Yep.
What do you mean? Tell me more about that later.
Lauren, what I'd like you to do now, and we're going to make, unless you want to hold back, and we're going to make a quick video on it in the next 48 hours, where you're going to announce a little bit of what you're doing with your Testic foxtail.
Oh, yeah. I'm just casually challenged me.
Would you like to do a video on that?
Why don't we?
Because if we drop it in now, that's in the last 3 minutes of the hour, and people might not get to that.
Yeah, exactly. Let's leave them in suspense.
There's something very interesting coming, team. Rob's trying to ring me at the moment. Rob Patterson.
Oh, do you want me to go?
Yeah, let's quickly see what he's got.
All right.
Okay, Rob Patterson, team. Sorry. This better be good, Rob. This is him using his Patreon. Playing games with me. Welcome to Erectile Dysfunction Hotline. Kaz speaking here.
Yeah, not here. Ring back.
All right. I don't know what was going on there, Mr. P. Dave Pence agreed Nicole Key was the train warrant at 5CR in Penrith. Wow!
Hello.
He was just playing games with us, showing that he's got his number still.
Playing love games with you.
Yeah. Well, what have we got? Have we got any...
actually, Bain has a question.
Yep.
He says, I have a question, actually. Why do you think reserves have infantry as a priority role right now? Do they know something we don't? Well, first, yes, of course the government knows stuff we don't, and that's how it should be. But you can answer the rest. Why is it a priority role?
Okay, I believe that it is a priority role because exactly the sort of stuff we're talking about right now.
Right.
What I would be stipulating, but is when shock occurs to the body and the blood moves to the major organs, In Australia, what I don't want to see is the major organs take the soldiers from Tasmania, from Home Hill, from Charters Towers, and they rush them to capital cities because that's where the politicians and the rich people are.
Yeah.
If you're in Tasmania, you fight in Tasmania. If you're from Brisbane,
great.
you fight in Brisbane. Don't take these people away from their families. Let them go to places within their region and you become a regional soldier like the Limitanii of the Roman legions, where you fought for your local area. You know, that means that there is no way that you can be outmaneuvered by the red corn chip. You will be in these locations. And as soon as that alarm goes off, every single guy that's ever scratched his ball sack now has his weapon at home. I'll say that again. Every single person that has ever been in the Army Reserve or has done national service will then have an assault weapon, ammunition, at their house and a uniform. So that is an instant mobilisation.
Yeah, that's actually a really great idea, because that might even, because I know people say, oh, we'll just arm all the veterans. That's not always possible. That's not always possible, but a national service in amongst us, our own cells, that's a great idea.
Yep.
That's a fantastic, I would agree to that model.
And do you know what that would do? That would bring law and order to Omeo. It would bring it to Warrangata. It would bring it to Charters Towers. It would bring it to any one of these places. They'd go, oh, yeah, that guy, don't stuff around. That guy that's doing security on the door is also the sergeant of the Home Guard.
Yeah, exactly. I don't know. PK is suggesting we should look at the Finland model.
What is it, PK?
Service. I don't know, PK, but I tell you what, I mean, I really like their prison reform.
What's that?
Well, they're trying to rebuild communities for these people, because we know community helps them. So they build more villages, contained villages focused on education and learning trades and skills and community. They rely on each other. Someone
that performs crimes on the public, etc., under whatever the situation is, we shouldn't be keeping a metal fork away from them for 25 years if there's ever a chance of getting them out. They should be out and working in areas, understanding you stuff up on that, regardless if you're away for shoplifting, if you're away for armed robbery, or you're away for gang violence. If you try to escape, you know that it is another felony and now you're not coming back out again.
Exactly. And I believe that there was one new prison in their new prison model, and it's been going for some time now, be over a decade, not one escape attempt, because they built it to be more like a university, like a campus, and it's the campus model. So they actually walk freely between the buildings in a very enclosed, large space.
Yeah.
And it's really quite good. It's very humane, but it's also not so much punishment as education and reprogramming.
A taste of hope, Yeah,
exactly. We need to fix folks, because the system that we've got just makes them worse.
Yep. There's their rifle. Yeah, I don't have a problem with that, Simon. I don't believe a weapon should be in an armory, and I don't believe it should be in a safe. It should be where it can be used. I shouldn't
be... Because that's what we're talking
32
about,
32 turns left, 5 turns right. Okay, I'm getting stabbed.
Yeah, exactly. That's what we're talking about, is being able to quickly respond.
Yeah. A quick one with Liam's question here, and I get what he's saying here.
Yeah.
Kaz, love you, mate, but never use the term assault weapon. It's meaningless. Okay, I get what you're saying, because I can use, people think that we fire auto. You don't fire auto on operations. That's the quickest way to run out of ammunition. That's like running out of energy in the boxing ring. You're going to get smoked after that. Why I say assault weapon is so people understand what I'm talking about, is a weapon that can take a magazine. It doesn't matter if it's 5.56. It doesn't matter if it's 7.62. I don't intend on firing automatic, but it is a weapon that I could take straight up, an AR-15, and I could take that on operations with me. As long as I have the ammunition for that to resupply me, I can use that effectively in any field of conflict. Same deal with an M416 or 7. Same with H&K. All of these different weapons, they're assault weapons because they would be effective on the battlefield. That's why I say it.
Yeah,
so people understand what I'm talking about.
Yep. Unknown Fox, 1994, has asked,
That's a good name.
What about Yeah, it's a great name. What about a Marine-style service for criminals to avoid jail life stuff-ups? Now, I'm not against this problem, but again, I'd need to see the model, because maybe it's just because I'm a civilian, but my perspective on this is important. I trust Australian soldiers to protect innocence. So depending on the crime or whatever their mental health problem and that is, not everyone would be able to be eligible for it, but I certainly think a redirection program would be a fantastic idea.
Yeah, absolutely. There has to be something, and it depends on what your crime was. It violent crime? Was it gang crime? So you do have to have stipulations there, because
exactly.
Hate to say it, some people cannot be fixed.
It's not worth the risk.
National service training similar to singleton infantry training? Yes and no, Sage. What it would be would probably be run by by regional Army Reserve courses, just like the Army Reserve infantry courses aren't run at the School of Infantry either, or by regular soldiers in a regular training facility. They'd be run in Brisbane, in Sydney, in Victoria, in South Australia, etc., where they'll do their IET training, but it will be under the supervision of Army Reserve, which then upgrades them with responsibility requirement as well. Yep. And also there'd have to be some sort of incentive that actually goes out to these individuals, whether it be a grant, whether it be one-time payment, instructor bonus, whatever it is.
Yeah, for sure. There should be some sort of remuneration to them, of course.
And do you know what else there should be? Delta Company checking in. Swallow Bear, good to have you here, mate. I will send you a message as soon as I get off. I dare you all to get on Patreon. I dare you. I believe that if you go and you do your national service, then you should have a large proportion of your university degree receives a grant. Okay, a big portion of that is paid off. You know, whether it be 33%, whether it be 50%, is paid off after a successful completion of your national service program. So one thing that rewards the country also rewards the individual. It has to be something that is realistic. It has to be something that is achievable. It has to be something that doesn't absolutely take all the money from the coffers, and it is a net positive for the conduct of the country and gives a light to those that need it the most.
Yeah, okay. Hey, Elijah Z is here, and he said, Kaz, I'm new here. What did you do in the ADF?
Elijah, I'm glad you asked. I was actually the first ever Australian Army porn star. You know, and okay, that is fake news. Elijah, I like your name. Basically, mate, what happened was when I joined the military, I was a little guy, still am by some accounts with the modern size of individuals. Okay, but what happened was I was meant to go into the Signals Corps. From there, I got to Kapooka and decided I was going to be infantry. My dad said, your nose will be bigger when you're older, son, you know, and it's going to be because you've got a big mouth, so be careful. So out of fear of what was coming next, all I did was amp myself up into the best physical shape I could ever get into using ADHD and coffee as my stimuli. And I went to infantry. And then from there, I was either in infantry or instructor infantry for the next 24 years. And after I got out, I said, I want to help people to have a life like I had. Do I have scars? Shitloads of them. Do I have bad experiences? Yep. But I've got a lot more good ones, and I don't know of anyone that's done my job that has the regrets. They have regrets for individual actions within their career, but none systemically of serving the nation. And when I see people that have got all of these problems, whether it be relationships, whether it be emotional, whether it be not just financial, but also that life struggle as they get older, that I've done squat with my life. I don't want you to have that moment of reflection. So by joining the Army Reserve or joining the regular army or equivalent of with other things, I want you to remember that this life goes way too quick, and
it does.
Make the life a game show and you're the main actor.
Yeah, exactly. Hey, the sworn defender, who I actually would like to give a bit of a shout out to because he's usually listening while he's at work. So one day you'll have to do a super special Sunday stream like the good old days for him. He said, I agree with what you're suggesting, Kaz. I also think the red corn chip underestimates how violently some Aussie civilians would respond to them attacking from within. That's true.
I absolutely agree with that, sworn defender. And I don't know if you heard this earlier, Driving Wheels. Them Driving Wheels. Jimmy Barnes, great song. I absolutely believe that, and I said that earlier on, that Australia is a sleeping dragon. We hear that said about Americans. It absolutely is the case, and we have found those of Asian descent are quite allergic to the Australian bayonet fighting capability.
Yeah. Mr. Patterson's going to bed. Good night, Mr. Patterson.
Good night, my mate. Good night, and all the best, mate. And I hope your day gets a little bit better. We tried to ring you, mate. We couldn't get through. I'm sorry.
Yeah, sweet dreams.
You'd love to see me in action. Just remember, sworn defender, I'll always have a go, but I'm also the defeated boxer, which means I haven't won, which also means I haven't taken on chumps either.
According to Sinaj, he can see you in action on the hub.
That's right. Wisdom hub.
Yeah.
Some people have thought that I'm a savant when it comes to doing shit wrong.
I think you're very clever.
I've made almost every mistake, but I'm still here.
You're still there.
You know, I get very confused. We've got Elton John saying I'm still standing, and I go, then how do you know you're gay?
Come on now.
Let's change that damn flag. Not on my watch. I still call Australia home. Get out of there.
Exactly.
It's invading me. Guys and gals, it is so important that we don't take our society for granted. You know,
it's true.
We if you had said to people a couple of years ago before the DIVIC, which is COVID backwards, that was going to happen, something similar to the Spanish influenza, you would not have believed it. Absolutely would have laughed at people, even when they started to announce it was occurring. So believe me, you're going to wake up one day and there's going to be something happening in this country. And it might be your internet's not working. And you're going to think back to this and go, holy shit, I wish that we had prepared ourselves while we still had a chance, while generals outside the political sphere were talking about it and saying, believe me, guys, all the writing is there. Call it red pill, call it MGTOW, call it being eyes wide open, call it being conservative, not right wing, conservative different. You know, guys, gals, but just be logical. Have conversations about real topics, and you'll be amazed how many smart people surround you on a daily basis, and a lot of young people have opened their eyes up.
Yeah, it's true. I kind of get a bit annoyed with the, all young people are like this and all young people are like that. And I think, no, come on now. You know, we built this world that they're living in, so...
We built it on rock and roll.
Exactly. We need to listen to them and don't underestimate them. Look at all the great young people we get in here, even from cadets and even those who even really quite young, some of you, you know, they're amazing young people.
Well, we're seeing that in the Commonwealth Games. It hurts my soul trying to work it out. How the hell can someone who's 18 years old break a world record in any event? You're saying that an 18-year-old who is probably getting looked at in some avenues like, oh, what would you know? Yep. Here they are. They've just broken a swimming record for the fastest swim that has been done in a population of 7 billion, but also beaten every time in the history of the world in every single Olympics. This person is 18 and they have achieved that in such a few amount of years. It's amazing. And if you let yourself be boggled, this life can be fantastic. Look for the good, not the bad. You'll land on your feet. And you know who does it the best? This will be interesting. Where is he? Sworn defender. Who is more optimistic than a fisherman? I'm not a fisherman. I'm a fisherman's arsehole, which is tight as hell, but not with money. A fisherman goes out, and they're a weird bunch. They'll look out, and it is raining, pissing down in winter. The waves are crashing on the shores. He's getting hit with rocks, and you'll go, "This is great weather for Brim."
Yeah.
It doesn't matter what happens, no matter how bad the time is, great time for Flathead.
Yeah.
You know, we could all learn from the way that the fisherman looks at life.
Oh, it's true. I've struggled with patience all my life.
There you go. Shoot it down under.
There you go.
Is that fairly accurate, mate? I'm vomiting. You know what? That's cheap burley. Love it.
Oh, my gosh.
Daz, he loves fishing. He loves fishing for the single mum.
Yeah, and like Sanaj said, age is really the determining factor of being a good person. That's true.
Yeah, but only a young bastard with flowing hair would say that.
Would say that, yeah, exactly. And doesn't his hair flow? It's majestic.
Yep. Bane of my life, slipping off the beach rocks in pitch dark. that could be scary.
Depending on where you are, that could be fatal.
Okay, there we go. Sworn defender. The only people who would suffer from no internet are those who have never been without it. I think no internet would be a great thing. There you go.
Children of the summer, they've never known hard times, and we can't really hold that against them. You know, especially we've let the education system slip. If they've been trained to be soft, they'll be soft, and perhaps something like national service, and that will show them what their potential is. That's
true. Can we say goodnight to Robbie Kent's feet?
Oh, yeah. Good night, Rob Kent.
For those that don't know, Robbie Kent has had a prick of a year, you know.
Oh, gosh.
You know, he's lost his beloved doll. You know, he got rid of his finger. You know, he got his poor bloody ankles crushed by a forklift. You know, it's been terrible for him. You know, and mucho respect. He's there all the time. He's got
a great attitude. Yeah, he's an OG. He's been here for a long time.
Yeah. Shoot it down under. This is a great perfect time for Taylor and need to get him off the rocks. They're good. The smaller the fish, the better for some reason.
God, I love fresh fish.
Yeah. I love women that smell like fresh fish.
Oh, great.
Vids and wasps. No, internet is great, but not every day. No. You know, Lauren, what do you think of this?
Okay.
As we get older, a funny thing has happened where money is not my priority.
No, exactly.
Life experiences are, etc., and all that. But one of the things we are so gifted with, you know, is having been alive during the times of documentaries where we sat around and all that sort of stuff. So now that I'm in my 50s, as long as I keep traveling and stuff, the thought that we've got things like YouTube, that I can look up any subject and get smarter at it, is such a blessing. You know, as your body starts to say no to things like 24-hour sex sessions with a harem.
Yeah.
You know, I don't want to.
You know, you've been there, done that.
A couple of times. You know, I don't mean like being treated like an object, but you know what? I don't like running away from problems either. You know, no safety nets for Kaz. But I love nothing better than sitting down and just learning and learning and learning. And then the next day, but you're going, where's someone I can tell it to? Give me a number. I love it.
Yep. Me too. I'm the same. I'm about moments and memories and wonderful experiences and things like that. They're treasures for me. And, you know, just take a step and cut dramatic people out of your life, guys. Your life will get simpler.
Absolutely. What's going on here? Is that a bit of hiragana? Is that a bit of Japanese? I reckon something like a 4-year ARIS contract in exchange for wiping away Hex would go down pretty well for the younger generation.
That's not a bad idea, you know, because universities are way too expensive. This shouldn't be how it is in Australia. We shouldn't just have education for the elite.
There's a real problem with our education system. Tell me how confusing this one is, Lauren. This is completely off the subject of reserves and regular army red chip. How is it the degree for a teacher to go to primary school that pays them over $100,000 a year for something that needs absolutely no study for, because you know how you 10 times tables, you know how to colour in with crayons, you know how to spell cat, you know, all of these things, that's a 4-year degree.
Yep.
It's only a 3-year degree to be a fully trained, in the vehicle, driving qualified paramedic is 3 years.
Really?
So how is there even any university to be a primary school teacher? The reason we have a problem getting teachers is because they've made it so goddamn hard because it's so lucrative to the government. It should be a traineeship that goes for 8 months. If you have the right, I see women that are so good at working with children, and I go, I don't know how they can do it. Why make it harder for them to have that position and make them train for 4 years? If you're going to be a high school teacher, year 10, 11, 12, I get it.
Yeah, I understand.
But not primary school. That's all about love, compassion, and patience.
Yeah. I agree. Exactly. It's more about, learning to social things and getting the basics, the foundations. I really think, like prison reform, I think we need education reform.
We do. Well, like we said, what's it called?
What?
UNHCR, I think it is, or UNICEF, I believe, if I read it properly, said that Australia is ranked 39th out of 41 in first world nations in education.
Oh, yeah, I know, which should frighten people, really, because there's so much. We look at our kids and go, wow, they could learn so much more.
Well, Brady Carr abolish universities. I think that
I think we just need to reform them.
Yeah,
I'd rather see more of a Greek, sort of go back to the basics of the Greek method.
It needs a reformation. It does. And they need to be able to say, does this course give back to the country? Or is it something that is a standalone? As long as it's not something that is lying to a young adult, that is accepting a HEX fee but giving them no chance of a career that follows.
Yeah, indeed.
Okay, I think we might get out of here.
We might, yeah.
The lack of the real problem.
I think we're having a discussion about cadets, and there can be some cringy things they say and that, but we be polite in that, and we also respect that they are a young age, so we kind of cut them some slack in the chat and that. Yeah. So just remember, there's kids in the room. Yeah, there is. So in summary, team, there is a clear and present danger. And a timeline has been set by the red corn ship of when they will be the master of all, and that your feelings won't come into account. They are building at the moment an opposition to the petrodollar that controls the entire world and has for a goddamn long time. And they also want a separate reserve currency. We have to be very, very careful that we don't end up sitting on our hands and demanding that we get helped by the USA to lose more people abroad, because we didn't do our work in preparing ourselves. Now, my two things that I believe is national service, but also the ability for those that are qualified, those that have been trained, to be able to carry a weapon at home as a garrison, capability that can be called up, QRF. You are no longer an accountant. Grab your weapon, come into the depot, and then from there, every single town, every single city will be prepared locally without delay, and it will be practiced with their reaction times until people go, I think it's just too big a gig, which brings us down to the bottom thing. Behind every blade of grass is going to be, behind every Xbox control, there is going to be an M4. It's just not worth it. And a kid who knows how to use it. Exactly. And mum and dad too, and the person 2 doors down, and the person in between them can fix you up and give you stitches. So mum and dad and Benny. Exactly right. I think it can be done. We've got a few people going to bed. Good night, Simon. He always says he loves us. We love you too, Simon. And keep up with the exercise. Keep doing it. I'm really proud of you. Keep going. Beats was off. Yep, Sanaj is saying have a good weekend. Hey, Miss Ninja, nice to see you here. It's good to have you all here. This is it's a real compliment to have you here. Snowy's here. Too many losing society. No one would get behind it. The whole thing with Snowy is they wouldn't have a choice, mate. Yeah, and maybe so, but that's right. Maybe they wouldn't get behind it, but maybe they'd see the benefits of it if it was implemented. If you're a politician and you are watching this, if you were a military individual and you were watching this, contact me and we'll have an interview, or I'll come to you in my blue van, not a stale red candy van, and I am willing to do a talking presentation and prepare a package for you
And I'd be happy to do that. Lynn Smith, if we're talking about preparation, can we bring a small arms production domestic? Because my understanding is that our primary small arms supplier in Lithgow are owned by the Frenchies. I don't care who makes them, mate. Let's make them Australian made. But I don't believe the submarines are what we need.
Exactly. But I would also like to just see more manufacturing in Australia. I want my kids and their kids to have jobs.
Yep, me too. And I want to see our resources stay in Australia. You know what else I want to see?
What?
Every nation that we give donations to, they only get that based on every 2 years they tell us, their politicians, this is the receipts for what we spent the money on. If you come from Aceh or you come from Timor, if you come from somewhere and you can't show me that our money goes to job making and health providing for your people, you know, then your money gets taken away for 1 year.
If it's for aid, it better be for aid. And I believe they already have a system like that. But what I think they need to do is have a team of people who go and audit the what they've said they've spent the money on.
Yeah, I bet the auditors get paid well too.
Yeah, it needs to be audited, and it needs to be audited by our people going and seeing where the money is going. But, yeah, we could talk about this all night.
We could. Smoke and Oaken has just been passed his assessment day yesterday for Infantry 343.
Fantastic.
Well done, mate. Can we get some thumbs up for Smoke and Oaken? Mate, great news. You got some hard work ahead in 2022.
Yeah, you're about to head into the next chapter of your life, make good choices.
Yep. What we do need to do change, shoot it down under, is the slippery filth that the Steyr is made of. I don't like the butt group. It's got this weird feeling to it once you sweat. You know, it feels a little bit greasy like a Turkish wrestle. But we might get out of here. M4 is my favourite weapon system team. You know, if it's not that, then it's a H&K 417, 762. Guys and gals, it's been an absolute pleasure to be here. Let's have the conversations that the world needs to hear. You know, don't be put off by having conversations as long as they are, measured, with individuals. And remember that not everyone is ready for an intellectual conversation as opposed to something that is going to be a social issue.
Exactly. And, there is no point in just arguing with someone. My mum always said, don't enter a battle of wits with an unarmed person.
Yeah, just push their details forward to the local military depot and try to enlist them against their will.
Try and get them. What did they used to call that when they put them in the Navy? When they'd lynch them.
Oh, yeah, when the press gang, the press gang using the blackjack. You get on the piers, you sleep with Rock and Rhonda, and then you wake up as a cabin boy with a butt full of captain, and then
we can talk about our press gang system another stream.
I agree, Daz. Don't mind them either. Springfield M41, M14, love them. Guys, let's get out of here. Hopefully that the people that really care about us care enough about us to upset us with some reality.
Yeah.
Australia needs to get frightened before we can get ready.
We do, and we do need to look at it realistically. Being frightened doesn't mean you have to panic.
No. Yep. She ain't heavy. She's my brother. We're going to be putting out a video in the next few days, and that's going to be Lauren and I speaking as we actually show one of the projects that I am absolutely proud to get behind.
Yeah, and I'm loving it.
Yeah. I am getting behind, Lauren, but it's in a different way, team.
Yeah.
Don't get jealous.
Don't be rude.
How dare you? Just buy guns, get your license and buy guns. Snowy, they're not the sort of guns I want. I want guns like the cult family that are on the screen right now. One that really I can use like it's a guitar that I've played for 20 years. I can't find armour on the recognition for prior learning websites. I'll have 3 of them, mate. That way, if it's broken, I'll just grab the other one. Let's rock on. And remember, whoever stuffs with Australia, stuffs with England, stuffs with America, stuffs with Canada, who won't turn up to the party.
Exactly.
There's good people out there, and you know what? When there's a scream in the night, we'll be there.
Yeah, exactly.
And our history has shown that. See you later, homeboys, homegirls.
Good night.
Take it easy, and I hope you all piss the bed. See you later. Get on
Bye.
Patreon. If you don't, you're a smuck. See ya. Welcome to spring. Spring into Patreon. See ya.